Hey, hey, chainsaw cultists, merchants of doom, this one's for you. Necrotic damage V2. This is a rat into an HM2 EQ with a pile of mods, lots of tweakability on this one, and if you've been following me for any amount of time, you probably know there was a V1 necrotic damage put out in early 2020, and since then I've had about 3 years to really listen to what people wanted to see on the V2, use my ears, figure out some mods, some improvements, and this is it. So let's get down to it. So here it is, Necrotic Damage V2. So this was about 3 years in the making, as I mentioned before, and what I wanted to do with this was keep the spirit of the rat and the HM2 alive. I did a lot of mods, tried a lot of different stuff out, and in theory you would think that they would be really great mods, but I'll be honest with you, a lot of stuff just flops, and that's fine, because I didn't want to add anything that wouldn't be valuable and just would enhance the player's experience. I mean, there's a lot of HM2s out there. There's a lot of rats out there. They're both highly tweakable circuits, and I think that's why people do them. But in the end, I wanted to stay true to the spirit of things. So with that in mind, I had to cut a lot of stuff out, a lot of stuff that just made no sense in the end. So I'll go through here and show you. So this is the main on-off, main bypass. So you engage this, and you can turn your HM2 and your rat on or off, and basically, if you want to run them both, you can bypass them. If you just want to run one, you can bypass them. So there's a couple ways you can do it, but I feel that that's a really great feature for someone who's going to use this as their main tone, going to use this as they want to run the HM2 and the rat together and then bypass them. I mean, it just adds that much value. So this is the main blend. It does what I just said. It's the main blend. So it, you're going to get, let's take a look here. So right now there's nothing because you have neither the HM2 or the rat engaged. So turn the rat on. So that is completely dry. That signal, 50%. 100%. Okay. 25. As I mentioned, disengage out of the HM2 or the rat, and you got nothing because the idea here is that this is your main bypass. So let's take a look at the rat. So I added a mid and a tilt here. I took out the filter. Nothing wrong with the filter, but I found that these actually work great on their own, and you don't really need much more. So what's cool about these two is even though they're a 2-knob EQ, they act as a 3-knob because the tilt in the center, that is flat. You get no bass or treble spikes. So counterclockwise, this adds bass. Clockwise, that adds treble. Now your mids, this is, what's cool about this is both these in combination really, you can get tons of EQ variations, tons. So let's just take a look here. So this is typically where I like to have mine for my setup. Now crank it back. You got tons of low end. Turn it up, you got tons of high end. Now, you also, as you move the mid and the tilt around, those affect each other's EQ range and frequency. So it's actually quite a powerful EQ, and it's passive. I did try it out. I did try out an active EQ on this, but I just felt that the passive EQ just keeps with the spirit of things. And I mean, you're going to hear me say that a few times because, like I said, there's a lot of mods you can do to these, but in the end, if it doesn't keep to the heart of the matter, which is rat into an HM2, then it's kind of lost. The whole idea is lost. So moving on, we've got hard and soft clipping in the center. Those are both off. To the right, you've got stock silicone hard clipping, which is what the original rat had. All the way to the left, that is LED clipping, which is what the turbo rat had. Soft clipping, this is not featured on the rat. This is something I added. Centers off. To the right, that is asymmetrical silicone clipping. All the way to the left, that is symmetrical LED clipping. So, and these do add quite a big difference in the overall tone. And you know, I tried all kinds of different clipping features. I mean, if you look at the Leviathan, it's got an insane amount of clipping. This, on the other hand, I really found that the rat only works well with a few different clipping types, and it's really just pointless to add anything that you can't really tell the difference of. And with a lot of different clipping types, you can't. There's only a few that really add that, add that value, add that difference in tone. So check this out. So right there, you can hear the difference that the clipping types make for the hard clipping. And what's cool about this is you can use these in combination. You can hard and soft combinations, however you want. So we'll take a look at the soft clipping. So that really does add quite a few tone characteristics. I mean, personally, I like having them off. I just like integrated circuit clipping, and that's what this gives you if you turn them both off. But hey, to each his own. And like I said, this adds a lot of value, and I think a lot of people will find a home for each of those clipping types. So, and then last but not least, of course, you've got your level and your distortion, which I didn't touch either of these. I like the distortion circuit on the rat. I don't really think it needs to be improved on. And of course, your level, line level is usually around, 2 to 3 o'clock. So I like to boost mine a little bit, but the rat's not really known for boosting. So it's not one of those pedals that you're just going to slam the front end of your amp with. It's more to add that gritty kind of fuzz distortion. So moving on, we've got HM2 EQ. I'm sure you know what this is. Sure you know what it sounds like. So, giving you a look at this. This is the EQ blend for the HM2 side of things. So you roll that back and you can blend in your rat with your HM2 and your main blend. So there's actually 2 blend circuits on this technically. So moving around here, low frequency, that is a 100 hertz boost or cut, depending on what you want to do. Low mid, that is about 700 hertz. High mid, this is going to give you that chainsaw snarl that everyone loves so much. That's about 1.2 kilohertz. And high, that is a large band between 5 and 10 kilohertz. Now this gets pretty brittle. Just give you an idea here. you can hear how brittle that kind of gets. So I usually keep it around noon. I like to cut it a little bit. I don't don't particularly like the highs on this being too cranked, but hey, to each his own. They're there. All right, so notch. So N is for notch. So what this is, at the very end of the HM2 gyrator EQ circuit, this basically adds a bass cut, and will basically cut out the highs. So I'll just give you an example of it. So there you go. As you roll through it, you can hear how it's cutting out a lot of the highs. It gets into the bass tone, kind of bass frequency area. And what's nice about this is if you roll it all the way counterclockwise, that is the stock HM2 frequency notch. And then as you work your way around, you can cut out some of the highs. You can you can make this kind of a doom machine, as you're going to hear. As I get on into these demos, I do think that this EQ is quite versatile. You know, a lot of people think the HM2 EQ can only do one thing really well. It does one thing really well. However, if you add a couple extra gyrators to it and add a notch to it, well, then all of a sudden you've got quite a bit of tweakability there. So I think that's enough. I think I've ranted enough on what this is going to do. So let's hear it in action. Let's do it. All right, here's one for you. Using the HM2 EQ for some buzzsaw tones, some of that dirty old doom. Let's check it out. Here's one for you. Trying to tone match a tube screamer with the rat. It's not exact, but it's pretty close. Check it out. All right, check this one out. I used a tube screamer to run through the HM2 EQ. You don't typically see this, but I thought I've had so many demos where I run different pedals through an HM2 style EQ. I thought, well, let's do a tube screamer this time. Let's switch it up. So let's do it.